All right, everyone, we're going to get started here for the next storage meetup. Thanks for everyone joining us and had a little pre-hangout session, talking about U-Haul and all sorts of other fun stuff. But now it's time for the main session. If you're on, great. If you can turn the cameras on, it's always nice to see everyone's faces at the same time. This one's going to be a little bit different. I think I say that every single week. We're doing something different this week, but got to keep it fresh. This one's going to be like a storage checkup. Have an owner, very nice to come on. Self admits that, hey, the owner does the site struggling, needs some help, needs some eyes on it, expertise to point me in the right direction. And full transparency, I'm helping him out with that. But I want to have other people in the industry come on as well, give us a good focus, good game plan that, cool, then we'll go off and we'll implement. And I think just the fact of seeing us go through this for this site, hopefully get some value out of it. And you kind of go through the lens of your own locations, because anybody, any locations, I don't care how long you've been in this industry and that, you need to do these checkups. You know, people that kind of, oh, it's been a while since I've looked at my SEO, or it's been a while since I've gone through my website. There's issues. Trust me, there just is. So it's a continuous checkup. It's never once and done kind of a thing. This is a constant, never-ending improvement kind of a deal. So, kind of set the stage there. I would love to have Noble, if you don't mind, if you want to take a few minutes, introduce yourself, just tell us a little bit about how you got into this business, get into storage, finding these locations, how long you've been the owner, set some of the stage of what challenges, frankly, that you're currently facing, and then hopefully what would success? What would a good, nice turnaround in, say, like 90 days? What would that kind of look like for you? So, if you wouldn't mind taking a few minutes there, Noble, and take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for listening, and hopefully we can learn a few things from the expertise of this group and figure out a good path forward. So a little bit of background on me. I am I'm not a real estate professional. I'm an oil and gas professional. And in during 2020, when the world was kind of crashing down on us, and my life especially was a little tenuous. If you recall, oil traded at negative dollars per barrel for a little bit, and so that was pretty scary. So we were kind of questioning whether or not this business was going to be healthy for a while, and I started pivoting and looking elsewhere. And one of the things that caught my eye was the self-storage business. So I, frankly, just looked around on online listings, and found a place in Abilene, Texas. So I'm in Midland, Texas. Abilene is about 2 hours away on the interstate. Found a place in Abilene that had been owned by the same family for 30 years. This family owned shopping centers and several other pieces of property in Abilene and around Abilene. The patriarch was in his mid 80s, and his kids were not interested in assuming any of his properties. So when I started looking at the property, I thought, okay, this is pretty interesting. They've got 90% occupancy. A lot of their tenants have been tenants for 5 to 10 years, so really sticky customers. And nobody's had a rental increase ever since they kind of signed up to rent. So I got a decent price on the deal. I got a good loan, and we closed it in 2021, early 2021. There was uh, the manager of the property kind of helped this gentleman manage all of his properties, but she would tell you that the majority of her effort was spent on the storage facility. Her office was 4 blocks away, so it wasn't on site, but it was close. And uh, it was kind of humming. They didn't have an online presence. They didn't have a website. The tenants would go and deposit cash or checks with the manager. And when I bought it, I immediately put it on easy storage. tried to convert everybody over to credit card payments and raise rates a little bit. I also added, they didn't have any automatic gates, so the facility manager had to unlock and lock manually the gates every night. So I put in automatic gates and got everything up and running. After that was going really well. We maintained 90+% occupancy for a while, and then the legacy manager decided to retire and move. So I hired a new manager that was in Abilene. They managed, I think, round numbers, probably 50 to 60 single family rentals. And then the owner of the management company also owned three self storage facilities. So I figured this would be a pretty good thing for them to manage, a third party storage facility since they had that infrastructure in place. And it was going okay. And then, several things happened. This facility is not in the best neighborhood. So there was always a little bit of an issue with break-ins. But there was a apartment facility across the street that burned down. And so a lot of people were displaced. And I don't know when that happened. That might have happened 24 to 30 months ago. And then this year, call it January of 25, we got a massive string of break-ins. So I would say at one point, there's 300 total units. I think at one point, like 120 of them had been broken into. Yeah, so it was pretty rough. We had some very, very light security. Obviously, the gates. We had like a Nest doorbell camera installed in a couple of locations, but nothing fulsome. We hadn't ever really needed it in the past. And so with the break-ins and being in a bad part of town, we also had we would find like people trying to live in the facility every now and then. We'd have drug usage, and the police weren't very responsive. So we're managing this for a while. I'm an absentee owner. Obviously, I live in a different city. I've got a full-time job, but roll forward to 3 or 4 months ago, and the manager finally said, "Hey, we can't handle this anymore." And I said, "I know, I understand." I'd been talking to Jim kind of off and on for a while, and so we finally, made the transition a month ago, and now Jim's helping me out. We've gone from peak, 90 to 95% occupancy to, I think, one facility is at 28, 29%, and another's at, around 50 or sub 50. So it's not paying for itself. It doesn't really it barely covers my note. It's in a pretty dire spot. I've had to make capital infusions the last couple of months. We have installed cameras. So those are up and running. And I don't think, there hasn't been any break-ins, but there's really been nothing to break into. So, I'm hopeful that the crime issue is going to resolve itself, but we've never really had much of a marketing presence. We've done a really poor job of advertising ourselves and getting new tenants. And frankly, it's a massive headache and a money losing operation right now that I need to fix or kind of jettison for a bargain fire sale price.
Gotcha. Well, thank you. That paints the picture. It ain't a pretty picture, but thank you for being so transparent, vulnerable, letting us know where you stand right now. And that's the purpose of what we're doing here. We're getting the foundation reset, and now we want to put the things behind it to start steering in the right direction so we can get it profitable and get more rentals coming in. So just real briefly, and I'll talk for a few minutes and I'll hand it over to Eva. So you're at Eva. I'll have you go first here because I know you got to take off. But just in the past few days, we've gone through and just do a full walk through the site. Who's in what unit? Are these guys vacant? Are they overlocked? Just the basics. And there are a ton of sites or a ton of units that were still in the system, but they were vacated. You guys know the story. So anyway, all cleaned out. We all know, okay, that unit's rented. Cool, it's rented. It's locked. That unit, great. They're late. Scheduled for auction. Cool, sweet. That unit's vacant. Has a lock on it. It's vacant. Ready to rent. Great. These ones are repaired. Need to get repaired. We know. So we're setting the foundation so we can start moving forward. Purpose of this now is we're going to look at some marketing, some pricing, some more operations as well. Again, this is going to go fast. Each person, hey, we got about 10 minutes to play with here. But I want you to email me. We're going to put all this stuff into action. We're not going to be making those changes on this phone call, obviously. We're just going to bring all these things to our attention. And then we'll implement everything that needs to get done. So hopefully that makes sense. Eva, if you're up and you're ready to, if your camera's working, we'll have you do your spot here.
So sorry, my camera is not like I can't even get it back on.
I know what to buy you for Christmas.
Thank you. I'm like, and the thing is, I live right down the street from Micro Center, which is like people travel from across the United States to go to Micro Center to have, to get their deals and like to just have that kind of closeness. And I'm literally 5 minutes around the corner. It's just, I have no idea. Every time I go to do it, I'm like, oh yeah, my camera.
Right. Well, you got about 10 minutes to work with here, so go ahead.
Perfect. All right. So first off, I wanted to go ahead and start off by saying, Noble, thank you so much for letting us do this. And then also, this is not a design critique. This is not to make your site prettier. This is about removing friction so more people can complete rentals online. This has nothing to do with personal style, personal likes, wants. It's about how to move that functionality forward. And storage renters are not browsing, they are problem solving. So that's something that we have to take into consideration when a retail person is on a site, they're browsing, they're looking at stuff. When somebody's on your rental site, they are problem solving. They need to get more space. Someone's moved out, a death in the family. It could be a ton of different things. The thing that we're going to look at here is how to get those people to the call to action as quickly as possible and how to make it as clear as possible for them.
Eva, would you like me to, since your camera is having issues, you want me to share my screen? Like I'll share the website?
Yes, please. I'm also gonna, go ahead and share the website.
Okay. Just trying to help you out where your camera's not working.
No worries. And then if you can hit F12 on your board, on your keyboard.
I'm on a Mac, so.
Well, do you know how to get to the element console sorts, like the section where no, if it's fine. So moving on. Sorry about that. So the biggest thing is that we want to make sure that we're showing availability, showing pricing, building confidence, and letting them rent quickly. As we're doing that, one of the things that we need to remember is that we are trying to streamline this and make it as visible as possible. So how renters actually behave, they're usually stressed, they're on mobile. So that's the one thing I was trying to change it over to mobile device so we could see. Mobile's a lot more confined in the way that it's viewed. And so we want to make this a little bit shorter. And then we also want to make sure that they understand that there are two facilities, but they're so close to each other that they're not necessarily considering that as a problem for them. They're more considering the sizing, the pricing, and the distance. So that's what we're going to kind of talk about in the next couple of minutes here, is really just those things, the sizing, the pricing, and the distance from them, not from each other, the two units. So the site currently behaves as an informational website, not a rental funnel. That's kind of the biggest thing that I took away from it as we get to it. It's giving way too much information and not enough call to actions, which you would think, oh, we want to give out more information. We do want to give out information more towards the bottom of the page, but the top of the page should be very predominantly rent now, reserve, if you want to use that terminology, but I would keep it pretty consistent with just the rent now across everything. As you move down, you're also going to see things like make a payment and log in. Those are also call to actions that are going to confuse somebody who's coming to rent from your facility. We don't want to muddle the waters between current clients and clients that are going to come to rent. So what we want to do is we want to take out that make a payment, log in, and make it maybe an action at the top of the page, and not have it be somewhere where, you know, it's in the middle of us trying to get that rental page. Also, the login rental button at the bottom, where we want to remove that as an action. The next thing we want to do is these two facilities are on the same page. So we want to combine those, have those be one address, and have one clear call to action, which is click here, rent storage, and then just have the two different addresses, and then it'll take you to the one page. So if we go ahead and click on that.
Click on rent units?
Yeah, click here to rent storage. So you'll see one of my biggest problems here is that you don't even see the storage units on desktop first and foremost. On a desktop visual, you're not seeing units, you're not seeing sizes, you're not seeing anything other than I think the Green Street location. And then if you scroll down, you'll see the 3rd Street location. So it gets a little bit confusing here. What I would do is I would put all of the units on one unit mix, and I would make the description an address here so that they can essentially verify all the sizes, all of the units, everything in one full file swoop. And they're not having to scroll, because when I scroll on, oh, okay, when I hit rent storage, I didn't realize that. Sorry, I didn't click on those buttons. But if you hit rent storage, it gives you all of the units. So you have 3 different rental pages.
And what I noticed just briefly as well is, like, when I hit rent storage, here's this with, okay, I got it, but then it separates them out.
Yeah, so that means he has 3 different rental pages also. So now you're dividing your traffic into 3 different areas of purpose, because each one of those is going to be somewhere where someone can convert. You do want to have traffic go to those sites, to those pages, but you don't want to separate it out into 3 different ones. You want to have all of your rental traffic go to one facility page, even if it's both of them on the same page. I would suggest them be both on the same page, and then just, like I said, have all of the units in one list, and then add the description as the address of that facility. At that point, just make it very predominant when you're sending out your emails when they rent. Here's the address that you will be joining us at for your storage unit. So that would be something that I would make sure that you talk to your website company and get rid of those other 2 rental facility pages, and then have the one facility page.
And this is easy storage solutions. So have a little bit of it's a templated thing, but you have a little bit of flexibility on making some changes. So
I've had somebody on ESS that had 2 storage facilities that's doing it exactly the way that I'm telling you. So they have the availability to do it. It's just combining your unit list into one unit list, and then just changing your unit descriptions into addresses. And then you can also have your address in there as well.
Perfect. So it's just streamlining the process, quit muddying the waters. Got it. Yeah.
Give it all to them in one place. Don't give them a bunch of places to click on. That's going to be the best solution for your clients. The next thing that I wanted to talk about on this page, that while we're on it, is the reserve now for $35. You've kind of switched up your call to action here, so it gets a little bit muddled. We want to make sure that we have the same call to action across the board. So we're going to do rent now. If you want to talk about the reserve now for $35, you can talk about that within the reserve page, or you might want to talk about it on a different page. But I would just have rent now be your main call to action, and then if you have the availability to have that rent now pull reserve and rent at the same time, they can make their decision there. But I wouldn't have the reserve now for $35 as your call to action on a button here.
And we got 2 more minutes. So what else you got?
All right, so the last thing that I'm going to talk about is just basic color. The color scheme is a little bit off for ADA compliance. When you see that rent now button, it is extremely difficult to see on mobile, on any type of device. It's the white on the light green. So you're going to want to either change that white to a black that would pop off on that. And that'll help with that. So I would really go with changing your call to actions, making sure that you're being guided through the site more streamlined, and getting rid of the 2 other rental pages, combining all the facilities onto one rental page. and putting the description as your address.
Perfect. Okay. And again, I
Thank
know
you.
that's a lot. We'll be putting all this in a, a nice action checklist. So,
Can I just add one? I'm sorry, I just want to add
yeah,
one thing.
please.
Another big thing is like you have the map section, there's a map page. I don't know what either one of your facilities looks like at the front. And people really, when they go to rent, or they really want to see what your facility looks like and what they're going to be driving up to. That's how I distinguish. Like I sometimes I'm in areas where there's like shops right next to each other. Boom, 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 boom. If I didn't have an image of how that shop looked outside, I wouldn't know how to get to that shop. I'm probably not as confusing as your facilities. Your facilities are probably much bigger than that, but it's just something that people look for when they're on that first page and looking for map directions.
Yeah, that's helpful. Full disclosure, and unfortunately, they are not much to look at from the street. So, um, it probably dissuades people from renting if you saw a picture of this ugly concrete building that's frankly it needs some lipstick for sure.
So what I could suggest, I just had this happen to me and I tell everybody, I'm warning everybody, you could put it through AI and have it adjust it a little bit, fix the cracks, the concrete, stuff like that, make it look a little bit brighter. Um,
That's
and
briefly what
then
it looks like. So,
yeah, and then use the AI updated images, but it's better than nothing.
and we are starting to do that. Just
All
kind of
right.
show real quick. Before, after. This different location, but you get the idea. Before, after.
Perfect.
So,
Exactly.
yep.
Just a little bit of just throw it through AI. I had that happen to me with a hotel. I actually had to check out of the hotel and leave. It was that bad.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Eva. I know you got to run, so thank you so
No
much.
worries.
We'll
I'll be
jump
here to
on.
hear a little bit of Corey's stuff too.
Cool. Corey, you ready?
Hey guys, yeah.
Take it away.
Um, so as always, Eva has a wealth of information, so soak that all in. Clear call to actions are always so important. And the other component of that is actually getting people to your website. So I'm going to talk a little bit about your search visibility and citations and why that's so important. So let me go ahead and share my screen real quick. All right. So,
And same thing. I'll keep it on a time, but 10 minutes.
okay, perfect. All right. So, one of the important things, of course, is driving traffic to your website. Everybody is searching for you. That's a super important piece of the puzzle. The main thing that I've noticed is that you've got two facilities, but only one Google Business profile. To me, that's going to be very confusing when you're making sure to give people the correct address of where they need to go. If they don't have a Google Business profile to send them to, it's going to be exceedingly difficult for them to work with a driver. If you've hired a moving company, any of those sorts of things, if you've got two locations, you're going to need two Google Business profiles. It's going to be super important so that people can find it. Everybody uses maps and GPS to get to where they're going. Giving them instructions, it's going to get lost in translation and there's going to be contention and confusion. So again, keep it as frictionless as possible. I definitely do two Google Business profiles. And then as you're getting through all those Google Business profiles, kind of making sure to optimize that. Again, the imagery is super important, as Eva was saying. So just making sure that you're posting images and giving people information just like you would on the website. You want to make it really actionable. And actually, let me go ahead and I'm going to share on my phone really quickly. So when you're going through and you're kind of taking a look at your profile, you want to make sure that you're optimizing as much as possible. Google gives you information to fill out, use it. They want it. So just make sure that when you're doing your services, include everything that you're doing and include the description. They actually give you 300 characters to actually describe that. So you can use keywords, you can optimize this really well. You can make sure that your customers are getting the information that they need. And then of course, photos, super important to do, and just making sure that your information is current. And I'm sure you're aware, Noble, that you've got a pretty low star rating. And so just make sure that as you're starting to increase the perception and the quality of service that you're providing, that you're going through and you have a good review, real strong review request campaign, because you want to be sure to get your star rating up. Your goal should be to try to get at least a 4.4 star rating. That's where we see people really lean towards anything 4.4 stars or higher is definitely more reputable than any scores lower than that. So keep that in mind as you're working through this and working through problem solving with your tenants.
And since you brought it up, just 30 seconds, because I know someone
Yeah.
else is probably wondering this. With 12 reviews, is it worth just scrapping it and starting over from scratch?
Well, it's evenly split. It's 5 stars and 1 star. So as you start filling that in, I wouldn't necessarily start from scratch there. I would keep it. Negative reviews actually give you legitimacy. So as long as you've got a good strong review request campaign and you've actually starting to improve, your customers are going to see that. And it lends actually a lot more credibility to your profile.
Hey, Corey, question for you. One of the things we did in the past, we actually made one of our first pictures an under new management banner or under new management sign effective this date. That way people know anything older was not us and we're changing things.
Yep. And I've done that for a couple of my clients as well. And you can actually do that with those negative reviews when I would go ahead and respond to those negative reviews that were with that previous management company and say, look, we're under new management. We're working to fix these issues. It lends legitimacy to that switch and that change as well. So you can actually use that to your advantage.
Then you got about 5 minutes. I want to make
5 minutes.
sure we kind of talk about, driving traffic, citations, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I want to go through the citations. So the other component to getting found, of course, is citations. And your citations are super important. It's basically how Google looks at you from different sources. Your Google business profile is super important, but where you are outside of that is also very important because it really leans into your authority. And I went ahead, I use a tool called Bright Local with most of my clients when we're working through citations and local SEO. And I did a scan on your property and you've got three key citations found and only 7 total. You can see most of your competitors have 38. So citations are all these different directories. You'll see Apple Maps, Facebook, Yelp, Foursquare, all of these different places. The key to this is, one, you don't want to do this by yourself because it's going to take you hours and hours and hours. But also you want to make sure that you're extremely consistent in how you do this listing. So your name, your address, your phone number, all need to match identically how you have it listed on the website. I would keep your website as your key source of truth. So however you have it listed on your website is how you need to put it into your citation campaign. But I would absolutely do a citation campaign because this completely affects how Google views you. The more you're mentioned, the higher your search engine rankings are. And the more you're mentioned now with ChatGPT and large language models is becoming much more important. So you just want to make sure that you do that citation campaign as well. And I don't know if you want to go into metadata or not, but that's the one other thing that I would totally do.
No, you got 5 minutes.
Okay, good. So the other thing that's very, very important is metadata. And so on your website, you've got all these different components that are here. But you need to use schema and metadata so that the large language models and Google and the crawlers know what your website about. It gives it context. And I went ahead and did a scan for your domain. And you can see we've got, that's why citations are super important. You have 0 visibility with AI, any of the AI models, so they're not finding you. And the other component is on your metadata. Most of your pages are missing descriptions. That's where you put in your keywords and context. And it says missing H1, but basically that's on each page, the primary topic needs to be highlighted. And when you're using those headings, it tells the search engines and the large language models, this is the key component and the key piece of information that you'll find on this page. And then you get everything structured in a way that it lists it all out. Fortunately, with Easy Storage Solutions, you can do all that on those pages. It's super easy to implement. So, just kind of think through and make sure that you're using the appropriate keywords, but not keyword stuffing. Keep it as natural language as possible, but make sure you're leveraging the tools that you have. And make sure that your images have names associated with them when you're uploading them. So if you're using an iPhone and it's image 1942, rename it into something that makes sense. And then make sure you're using the alt tags in the description so that the search engines understand, ADA readers can understand that text, and it just really helps solidify the technical SEO for that website as well. It's very important to do.
And I confirmed a lot of that. I was looking at their website and ESS, they give you here's your website, you have the back end, and you can kind of mess around with some stuff, and it's all blank. So yeah, good thing is it's easy fixes. We'll just do it.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that when you went through and got all this set up, that the property management company that you were using before didn't leverage this, because it's just so important as we go through this, and it just gives context, and even from the customer perspective, right? I need to know what the page is about, so it's helping you find the information as well.
And that's a good cautionary tale. So many times with many owners and I talk with, like, oh, I got a website, I got it through the software, but what we don't understand is the next step. That's just the shell. You haven't put anything in it. There's no meat. There's no with the meta tags and all that kind of stuff. They don't do that. That's a separate thing that you got to pay for.
Or they give you the out of the box meta tags, and they're
that's
so
garbage
generic
too.
that it doesn't help you either, right? So you think something's there, but it's something that absolutely you need to take a look at and leverage.
Yep, perfect. All right, well, thank you for doing that. I know it's a lot more, so same thing, instructions for you. Put it in an email, and I'll get the checklist. We'll put it all together, but thank you for hitting those highlights. It's awesome, Corey. We got two more. We got Tyler, then we'll hit up with Matt. So, Tyler, you want to jump on? I mean, we kind of briefly talked about the Google business stuff too, but it's so important. I wanted you to dedicate some time to it too.
Yeah, I think Jim. So I'm Tyler from the storage agency, and I'm going to try to coattail and maybe fill in a couple little gaps on everything my esteemed colleagues Eva and Corey shared. They're always so spot on, and I'm just going to try to kind of layer in and add a little context to some of that stuff. Let me try to share my screen here.
And same thing, I'll keep it on the time, 10 minutes.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. So I have a few notes here as well. Can you see my screen here?
Yep.
Okay, great. So a few things to point out here. The first, as Corey was saying, is if you Google the name of the facility plus the address, in both cases, the 3rd Street location shows up here. So see here, we're Googling the 3rd Street address. There's 3rd Street. The same one shows up here. And so, yeah, just to reinforce that idea that you really need 2 Google business profiles for this brand. And then I would think that you would benefit from here on the website. What typically you do with Storable Easy is you have a navigation item here that says locations and then a little drop down, and you'd have the one for the 3rd Street and then the 2421. Then you would have 2 different location pages. And then on the Google business profile for the website link right here, that link would go to each of the respective location pages here. It's just a nice little local SEO thing to get in place. Just to clarify, SEO, search engine optimization, what we're all talking about here, Eva, Corey, Jim, and myself, are how do you get yourself more visible in search? And I think typically 85% or so of a facility's bookings may come through the local pack and from Google Maps. Obviously, it's a tremendous driver of getting boxes into units. So what we're just trying to do here is make this facility more visible. And then when somebody hits the site, more likely that they're going to convert. One note on the latter is that one of my clients, we work with maybe, I don't know, 80 or 100 facilities on Storable Easy. And they've just announced a brand new checkout flow that's going to be rolling out, I think, over the next couple weeks automatically to all of the Storable Easy websites. They say it increases conversion by 34%. That's kind of huge. If a a website can convert 34% better, I mean, even 10% better, it's going to have a noticeable impact on occupancy. And maybe let's briefly touch on Google Ads for this facility as well, since that was kind of untouched there. So, Noble, I know you would love to not spend money here since you're kind of treading water or underwater on the facility. If you choose to go the Google Ads route, it might not be too expensive for you. When I take a look at the landscape here, I don't see, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if there are no major national REITs in this market, the cost to advertise on Google may not be too bad. You'd probably be looking at a cost per click in the perhaps $6 to $8 range. And that might mean that the lead acquisition cost for your facility could be in, let's say, the $100 to $120 range, somewhere around there. And then depending on how well you're able to close that business, you might be able to acquire new customers in the $200 to $300 range, something along those lines. So that's Google Ads. Let's see, a couple other things I noted here. With your reviews on your Google business profile, I think it was mentioned that, okay, you're going to have 1-star reviews and 5-star reviews. The same thing happens with, let's say, a restaurant. I think typically what consumers are looking for is how you reply to those reviews. And are you able to manage difficult situations graciously and, perhaps, offer something or say, please contact us. I think people realize that there are always difficult people out there to deal with. And as the business owner, you want to show that you're able to graciously handle a difficult review, and that can often win you business. A couple other things. Let's just go to the website here briefly. So this is really paying attention to the details here because it makes a difference. Oh, there's the locations tab right up top. So I think I missed that on my initial review. I would just get good photos in here. Maybe send up a drone. You can probably do that very inexpensively. And also, if you take a look at the photos on the Google Business Profile, update these. I mean, it looks like a set from Breaking Bad. I think you just need to get a better view of this facility best you can. And I really like that AI suggestion from Jim as well. I think that sounds, well worth playing with. But frankly, this facility looks kind of scary. I mean, if you look at the Google Street View right here, there's like a dumpster kind of out in the middle of the dirt road, and it's shady. So, I'm not telling you anything you don't know here, but perhaps you can get a better perspective on this view and just make things look a little bit better.
Right. I'm just spitballing here. Hear me out.
Yeah.
Self-storage, the Breaking Bad experience. See, if we can do that, we can drive traffic that way, right?
I think we've already had that, Jim.
I was gonna say, minus the break-ins.
Yes, we have. Break-in, exactly. All right, go ahead. Sorry, we we have 5 minutes.
I'll just wrap up here,
Okay.
Jim, just a couple quick things. On this contact page, just clean this up here. So here it says email, please call, but then in the footer, there's an actual email. So you might want to bring that email up here into the contact page. And then this phone number is different than the phone number up in the header and the footer. Again, you want to align those two things. And lastly, I would say that on the location page, make the content on this page a bit more rich in terms of the description, Abilene, maybe some points of interest or points of reference, at least, if not interest, nearby, and its relation to highways, how to get there. Directions are always nice, because essentially what you're trying to do is put your facilities in better context for Google, so that you stand a better chance of coming up when somebody is searching for Abilene, Texas, right here, self-storage Abilene. All these things are going to help. Really, probably the biggest lever you have is getting good 5-star reviews, replying to those reviews, getting a nice cadence going there. But otherwise, cleaning up the site, making sure you have citations as Corey suggests, aka business listings. All that stuff is important, and I think there's no one silver bullet for you here. There are just a number of things to iterate and improve on to where your facilities are better positioned in the online marketplace here. And hopefully you can get your head above water and get that occupancy up and heading towards stabilization.
That's perfect. Hey, for 30 seconds, 30 seconds real quick, got a question. Have you heard the rumblings of doing the anonymous reviews? Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I've already seen one.
Okay, I saw that. I thought I was losing my mind. So
yeah, no, I've got one. I was going back and forth with an operator, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure you're not going to find anybody with the last name of Chicken. So we're starting to see them come through. It's going to be harder and harder to try and track down a tenant.
Yeah. Okay. That's a whole other session, but I wanted to ask that real quick. So.
And then actually, Tyler, do you want to share your screen real quick again for the website, or I can? Sure. But I just caught it as you were scrolling through on the Green Street facility page. Scroll all the way to the top when you get there. Oh, right there. See, it says storage in Midland, Texas, and it's the wrong zip code. So definitely want to fix that, like, first and foremost.
I wonder. Yeah, never noticed that. I wonder how that even shows up. That's bizarre.
Yeah.
Sometimes an owner will try to kind of straddle the line between two different markets, and a facility may have one address, but it's actually over in a neighboring area. We have a client in Ewing and Trenton, New Jersey that, kind of straddles that line. But it sounds like, Noble, that's not the case here. And just make sure all the copy on the website actually reflects who you are and where you are.
Yeah, that's a great catch. I can't believe I never saw that.
No, perfect. All right. Well, thank you.
Sometimes you get that blindness.
All right. Okay. Thanks so much, Tyler. And yeah, same thing. Send the notes my way. We'll get them implemented. So I really appreciate that. And if you guys are getting value out of this, what we'll end up doing is, here's our before. I think we'll do an after. We'll do before and after, just so you guys can actually see when you put these things into place where we stand. So we won't leave you hanging, Noble. I promise. Matt, want to jump in and kind of go on pricing and competition and all that kind of fun stuff?
Yeah, let's absolutely do that. So, one of the things about this is, and I'm maybe on some of the different side than some of y'all, I like to know what my comps are doing. I like to know who I'm up against and what they're doing. I've managed in certain places that are very, very competitive. Vero Beach, Florida is one of them. We've had new properties open up. It's full of REITs. It's all kinds of different things. So I like to know what's going on in my market, and that also is part of the feasibility part of me, where when I do feasibilities, I dig into the markets very, very deep. So, one of the things that you can do when you're taking over a property, you want to know, what you're working with. And let me kind of get over here and I'll share my screen. You can use a tool like a Radius or a Store Track, whichever one it is, and start looking into what my comps are. Just for the Abilene property here, I went ahead and just threw some stuff in here and kind of seeing, okay, what's going on in this market? Where are my comps? And what are they? And then to determine which ones are my comps. Because just because you have a storage facility there doesn't mean that you're going to be up against that property. Let me kind of show you what I mean by that. It's in that, grab a new map. So anytime I take over a property, one of the things I'll typically do is just create a map. What am I up against? Where are my comps? And then which one of them are my comps? So if we look at this right now, so we're looking at the two facilities there that we have in the middle. I'll be honest, I see this, and yes, the market around it might be a little rough, but I am thrilled because at least the properties are right here in the middle of the density, and they're not over here, and it's not sitting over here, and I don't have an owner asking me, well, I built it during the good times, and because everything was full over here. People came out there and rented. Well, they don't do that in the good times. They rent what's close to their home within reason. The other thing that I'm looking at, especially when it comes to pricing, is, and this was mentioned by Tyler, there are no REITs. This makes life dealing with pricing a bit easier. You start to get a good idea of what the rate really is, not what the online rate is and what the crazy revenue management strategy is to get it to back up to what the effective rate should be. You kind of know what the rate is. So that really helps. And then I start saying, okay, well, what is my market? All right, well, we know right here, we can see is pretty much a major highway that goes around. Odds are the stuff on the other side of the highway isn't going to affect me that much. It's variable, it depends, but most likely it's not. I'm more concerned with what's going on within here. Typically, you would say, okay, well, what's my radius? Well, your average radius in a suburban area is about 3 miles. That's variable. And then it comes down to what we call man-made barriers like highways, and then kind of natural barriers like what you see right here. And what I mean by that is I live in Florida. If I go down I-95 heading towards Miami, you may very well have one side of the highway that actually never crosses the overpass to do business in the other one. It's just a natural divider or a man-made divider. And then you have other things like this where, little rivers and things that go through towns where there's bridges. New Orleans is a good example of this where you have a lot of the canals. Those bridges become natural barriers. People tend to stay on their side of the area, the location. So when I look at this, it's like, okay, well, we have some that are out here. We have some that are kind of down here, and we have some that are floating in here. And it's like, but you have this nice area right here that you can draw from. And then I look at, okay, well, I've laid out the comps. I've looked at, what we have in the area. And then I start saying, okay, well, which one of these are really our comps to me? Who is going to compete on the level that we plan on competing at? And I dig in to say, like, for example, one of the closest ones that I found was this Abilene self-storage. It's there, no website. Okay, it's 2025, almost 2026, and you don't have a website up. I don't care how smart you are, what you're doing. And to me,
all the storage owners on the call right now are making a note of that and trying to get a hold of that owner to buy them.
Well, yeah, it disqualifies you automatically if I'm doing this. That doesn't mean that I'm not. I'm not aware of their existence. But
Abilene
really...
self-storage. Sorry to interrupt. Abilene self-storage was actually that was the office of the owner that I bought it from. This facility was called Abilene self-storage before I bought it. So
okay, great. So that's actually not even okay. Good.
It's not even.
But I will say it's not uncommon to find these all over the place.
Yeah.
Another one down here, which I consider to be kind of outside the market here. They don't have any. They don't have a website. So anything like that, okay, well, I'm not going to necessarily worry about what they're charging. And then I'm going to start digging into some of these other ones. And once I do that and I identify who my comps are, and again, I don't know this market as well as, say, Jim there is going to shortly. But, when I identify my comps, and I'm going to start looking at pricing. And so I'm going to pull up. I'm sorry?
Real quick question for you. Would you overlay your existing customer base onto the maps that give you a pinpoint of where your current customers are coming from?
Yes, 100%. If you have access to that data, yes. Like I said, when I'm doing feasibilities, I don't always have that. But I will tell you, when I have done this before and when I'm looking at it like this, I'm going to pull it up. It's going to match almost exactly where I think it's going to match. Just because of ease of access, close proximity. So, it might be that you say, okay, right here, I pull out a 3-mile radius. Well, yeah, maybe this is in theory, maybe part of my market. But if someone has to drive past 5 different locations to get to you, that gets to be a little more difficult. You start getting to some of these Hail Mary facilities that, hey, I built it out here and I expected people to come and they're not. That's one of the reasons why. So yes, overlaying it helps a lot, but I could say, just look at it. How do you shop as a customer when you look for anything in your own particular life? This seems pretty much about where people are going to come from. Over here, they're going to probably stay on their side. Over here, they'll probably stay on this side of the highway because there's only so many access points into the central part of the area here. So odds are you're going to be pulling from here. And then once I've done that, I'll go through and I'll kind of show that I, tend to do a profile that is pretty deep on what it is that I'm looking at. What do they have? What are they offering? Things like that. One of the things that I know that, we were mentioning when it comes to pricing is that when we look at the website, and I'm not getting into the technical parts like everybody else did, but if I'm looking at I'm going to rent, well, I look at this and I'm not quite sure what I'm renting. I don't know if it's climate controlled. I don't know. I mean, I can assume some things based on being in the industry. I know what it is, but if I'm an average customer, is it inside access, outside access, roll up door, drive up? Is it climate controlled? Is it first floor, second floor? There's not a good maybe breakdown of what that is. And then there's no specials on here, no slash through. So if I'm looking at anchoring for a price, there's nothing here to get me zoned in on what that is. And then the reserve now for $35. Yeah, nobody really does a reservation fee anymore. That's actually going to turn people away. So when we talk about pricing is only one component of a very symbiotic relationship that, starts with marketing, starts with sales and pricing for street rates, then goes to maintenance and curb appeal and revenue management and support. And then that cycle kind of goes. This is why the REITs do it so well. We complain about a lot of it because we don't like the pricing structure, but when all of this is kind of synergistic and works well together and is kept at a very high level for the most part, we all know which sites don't do it, but for the most part, this is why they can do what they do, and they have the support staff to be able to do that. This nobody does, and I would probably, based on your occupancy level, I'd probably start considering a special on this. There were some specials going around, but you had some comps as I'm looking through this, and I remember this one, like the Frenchman Creek one here. They have a couple locations, and it says pick a location. Well, it doesn't give it by address. It's like, well, which location is it? I have no idea. Um, and it doesn't even say when I get to the reservation. It has an address up there, and then it just starts mixing in. So I think we take for granted sometimes, and we have to be careful being in the industry and what we know is kind of automatic versus the average customer on the street who sees this. So then, okay, fine. We've identified who our comps are. Then we're going to start looking at what the rates are. And to make this easier, my suggestion is to get like a store track account, and not very expensive per month, and you can pull this in whenever you want to. I did it manually because we're just doing a review. But your rates are not too far off. Some probably need to be adjusted, some don't. Putting a special on there would be pretty helpful. One of the softwares I have actually has this property right here at about estimated around a 90+% occupancy. The same with this one. So the ones around you are fairly well occupied, or at least assumed to be. So I would take that into account on my pricing. And then start comparing where you are. But I think above and beyond just the pricing part of it, and Jim, I'll be happy to share this with you, or with the work I've done on this. Yep. But in general, though, it's like, where are you starting from as well? There sounds like there's some CapEx stuff that was done or will need to be done. Things need to be made a little bit better. Obviously, reviews and things need to come up. And again, this is all synergistic. It's not just, hey, I want to do revenue management. What's my pricing? It's like, well, what does the rest of the operation look like? So that's doing revenue management is the benefit of doing the rest of it right, where people don't want to leave. And that's kind of where I looked at it.
Yeah, and that's great. And that's a good to wrap up there. And that's kind of the next step is, well, that's where we come in. We plug in the operations. I wish we had another 2 hours where we just talk about operations and all that kind of stuff of what's being implemented there. Because it's the customers need to be taken care of. They've, for the past, 30 days, we've been taking phone calls and that, and just listen to the calls. And,
I'm going to throw two things at you just operationally. Yeah. I would put a banner on the fence saying under new management, definitely, and get something out, move-in specials available, and draw some action to the website. If bare minimum do that, and I don't know if banners are allowed in that town, but I would get banners on those fences ASAP under new management, or even if it's not on the fence, on the building when you drive by, because I was looking at the buildings. You got a lot of white space there. Big color banner under new ownership, moving specials available, and whatever it is, it just draws some attention to your numbers.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question before we move on? A couple of things. Two things. My friend owns the Laundry Love out front. He owns that entire shopping center. We looked at buying this a few years ago. I didn't want to get into the challenges that you're having. And why did you change the name from Abilene Self Storage to what it is? I noticed on the chart there's nobody in town with the name Abilene Self Storage. So when they go Google things like that or do that, when I did Aiken, I named it the name of the town instead of Store and Lock because I didn't want to come up with that. But I'm just curious of why you changed the name.
Brian,
there was
it could be. Good.
Yeah, there was no real reason for changing the name. Just I thought when I was doing this that a new name would kind of get some new excitement and get some new tenants. But now that I hear your rationale, it would have been a really good idea just to keep the name.
And like Jim was saying, I would put a banner out front. And in my place, I went to HD Supply and I bought 30-foot half-inch PVC pipes and stuck a flag on top and lined my fence. Every fence post had a flag on it, so it looked like a racetrack. And it certainly got attention. People could see the flags flying. They're 30 foot in the air with a 3x5, whatever you call it, a 2x3, whatever, multicolored flags. And like Jim says, it gets attention. And I'd go around to your local people, like your finance place or Cricket, and look for referrals. Do some groundwork, old school door knocking to get referrals with other.
Yeah, and that kind of comes into doing the after part. We have a whole thing for the groundwork of guerrilla marketing, basically, of getting all that set up. So it'll be a fun project for this one.
Brian, I just want to chime in. I would have definitely changed the name anyway, because if it's got anytime we've ever taken over a store, we've changed the name purposely because we don't want the bad reputation of that name being associated with us 6 or 7 months down the road. When they drive by to see Abilene, even though it's got new colors or banners, they still see that name and could have a bad reputation in the town. So I would prefer changing. I agree with you about the name of the town. It's great if you can do it, but I would prefer changing the name because that way I'm trying to get a fresh start.
No, I get that. I see it both ways. I was just trying to keep the name Abilene in the brand of something. So when you're searching, which once you get all this fixed, people are going to start searching for. Because when I Googled Abilene Self Storage, it never came up.
For Brian, most people don't search Abilene Self Storage; they search Self Storage Abilene. So having a name sometimes doesn't make as much matter anymore.
All right, I want to be mindful of everyone's time. I'm sure we could talk on and on and on on this, but want to keep it for that hour. Hopefully you guys got some value out of this. I'm sure Noble, we'll talk later. I'm sure you got some value out of it. We got our good game plan going on here. We'll definitely do some follow-up on this one. I think it'd be kind of a fun case study to watch this for everybody. Real quick, I put in chat, so if anyone's interested, as soon as I end up and start these ones here in like a minute, I jump on another Zoom. It's all about AI. So we get the AI people coming on and we chat about AI. So if I put the link in there, you're more than welcome to join us. It's not my community. I'm just a part of it. So you're welcome to join us there. If you don't mind, I haven't done it for a couple of weeks. If you want to turn your cameras on, we've got to do our selfie and put that up. But if you guys like this, if you know anyone else that might be interested in volunteering and doing another case study, just reach out to me and let me know. I'll start throwing this in the mix once in a while, doing these storage checkups. So just let me know. But yeah, let's do our selfie. Turn your cameras on if you don't mind. We'll do it on the count of 3. We'll do it twice because we got enough people on here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Cool. One more. Thanks for humoring me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Cool. Thank you. And we'll do this again next Friday. Then the Friday after that, we're taking off because it's right after, day after Christmas. So go hang out.
Jim, I won't be here next Friday.
All right. Oh, that's right. You won't be. So
I'll be in Disney.
I'm gonna make my background you with like the Mickey ears. I got the whole thing planned. So be ready for that.
Make sure you send me a picture, okay?
I will. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time out of your week. I really appreciate that. This is fun. So I'm glad you guys were here. Got some value out of it, and I will see you again next week.
Thanks, Jim.
Race in the chat, Noble, if you want to reach out.
Take care, guys. See ya.
All right, see you guys.